This episode of the Operatory podcast is brought to you by HungryDino.com. In less than 3 minutes, you can find out what outdated policies, procedures, and technology you are using and how much it is costing you. Take the quick survey at HungryDino.com. Welcome to the Operatory podcast, the podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past outdated technology and procedures to find a better way. How are you doing today, patient perspective man, David Pryor?
Well, I'm a little tired, Brian. How are you?
Good. You drove to and from Duluth yesterday.
I did.
Yeah.
And so I have my Mountain Dew to keep me company today.
Yes. Yes, thanks. Mountain Dew keeping you company. Appreciate that, man. Well, today I'm looking forward to hearing about Dave's perspective today.
Okay.
About what do you think is the most important patient encounter for the dental office as a business? Like, what part of the patient journey is most important for dentists to pay attention to if they're looking to grow their practice and get new patients and wow people and all that fun stuff that hopefully our listeners want to do to improve their practice and the patient experience?
Well, making the patient feel comfortable, I would guess.
Yeah. When's most important to make them feel comfortable, my man?
Right away.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. From
the reception, from the moment you walk in, before you walk in.
Before you walk in. Nice. Yeah, you're exactly right.
I got it.
Nice.
You set me up, and I still got it.
I know. It must be the Mountain Dew.
It is the Mountain Dew.
It's pure
delicious,
corn syrup-fueled correctness.
Don't forget the caffeine. There's caffeine to go along with that corn syrup.
True. Well, and so today what we're talking about is what we can do to blow people's minds before they even walk in your door. Because as our patient, our resident patient has just expressed, it is important to do that prior to people coming in. Do you think we really need to go into why that's so important, Dave? Or do you want to, maybe I'll let you wax on as to how that's so important to you as a patient?
Well, I mean, do you want me to be a patient, right? I mean, that's the number one thing is how do you...
Do I want you to be a patient?
How do you gather my attention, right? And so that's... Well, do you? No, not really. But how does somebody gather the patient's attention? You gather it at the first instance of interaction with that patient, right? Before they're ever a patient, they interact with your office. They look at your website. As a sales guy, you hope that somebody's heard of your product before you've had a conversation, and so it's the same thing in dentistry, right?
Well, cliches are cliches for a reason, right? And the first impression lasts longer than any other impression you'll have.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say that there's multiple first impressions in the patient journey from the moment that before the patient even calls, right? They go to your website.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
They call, and then, they may send you an email, or you may send them an email, or your forms, as we've talked about before. And so I kind of wanted to go through the number of ways that you as a dental practice can wow people so you set the expectations for them walking in your door going, I already love this place.
Yeah.
Which is hugely important.
Yeah.
Because people tend to want to validate what they're already thinking. So if they walk in your door and they're thinking, boy, these guys are a pain in the ass to deal with before I even walk in the door, they're going to expect that experience to continue, and it can be sort of self-fulfilling, right?
For sure.
Similar to but the opposite is also true. If, boy, these people are really on the ball, of course you don't want to drop it when they come in, but it's your ball to drop then, right? And they're going to be much more likely to talk to their friends and family, and wow, from the moment I went to this website, blah, 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 blah.
Well, and I think one thing that you said there was really important to pay attention to is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so if a patient's expectation is set in a certain way, or from my side of things, customers, if somebody has a perceived expectation of how things are going to go, it usually goes that way. And so if you've set things up to win on the front end, you will likely win.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yep.
And this is the Operatory podcast, so we're not going to talk about the ways that other people will tell you to, right? We've talked before about it. We're not talking about smiling when you answer the phone, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the new things that you can do to wow people. Okay, and so let's first off, one that has really been, the light has been shown upon this to me, the value in the virtual tour, right? And we're going to actually have somebody on the podcast going forward who actually will do virtual tours and put little tags on your website. So if you, let's say you do use CAD CAM, it'll call out and have a little video and an interview with the dentist. But and you may have seen these before. They're 360-degree walkthroughs for any business, and you can do that for your practice, right? And what's really important about that, not just because it's impressive, but the Google stickiness. Like in the first month, I think we had 40,000 views of our virtual tour because they're not done that much, right? So it's huge, and what that does to your Google presence is gigantic, and it's one of those things where you just think about it. Is it worth spending, let's say, $1,000 to have a patient's experience, to be able to walk through your practice? We talk a lot about reducing people's anxiety. If you have pictures of your team, which is great, but that's expected today. So if you don't have pictures of your team on your website, that's a biggie, right? Smile in the photo, please. So make sure everybody's smiling and happy. And if you're not a big smiler, just fake it for 10 seconds for the website, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But then having the patient be able to go through a tour of the practice virtually is huge, and it's not even just for the experience, for your Google searchiness, right? Which is my new term, I guess I just came up with, searchiness.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks. So if you go to 360.spaces.com, that's the company that I know that does virtual tours. They do a great job. But you just want to get a 360 tour of the practice available for patients to walk through. So that's one that you may not have thought about that's available, that kind of wows people.
One of the things that I thought was really cool about that, and I really got excited about, was we're always talking to dentists about the cool toys that they have, the 3D image scanning, all the different benefits that you've invested in. You've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in some of your equipment.
I wish it was hundreds of thousands,
right.
Probably millions.
Right,
yeah.
Right. But you've got this equipment that is really industry leading, and you're not taking patients around your practice on a day in, day out experience to see, hey, here's this $100,000 thing, here's this $250,000 thing.
Oh, we do.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, that's a future podcast we'll be talking about, that exact point. You need to show people what you do for them, right?
Well,
yeah,
and
for sure.
I was going to say the 360 tour is a great way to be able to showcase, here's the cool stuff that we have that differentiate us amongst the other dentists.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're walking people through and showing those expensive pieces of equipment, the thing is that the patients don't really, the Maya Angelou quote, people don't care how much you know, they care about how you're making them feel.
Yeah.
Right? I probably butchered that quote, but that's the general idea. People don't care how much you spend on your technology.
Right.
They care that you care about investing in technology. And if you have a 360 tour that you pay $500 for, whatever it costs, it's just as impressive as that $120,000 CT scan.
Right.
Maybe more so to them, because they can have their anxiety reduced before they come in the office. And a 360 CT scan, they're like, oh, this is cool, but I have no idea what the hell this is. It just looks neat.
Right. But then at least on the tour, you've got, here's what it is and here's what it does for you.
Yep.
I think that's fantastic.
If you're spending $100,000 on a CAD CAM machine,
right,
spend $500 to be able to show people what you do on your website, right?
Yep.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. And that's just one. So virtual tours, fantastic. Another one, the best way to communicate with people directly on their website is through a web chat, right?
Yeah,
So when people are on your website, we've talked about this in a prior podcast, but make sure you have a secure web channel where people pops up and they say, oh, yeah, I want to talk with you, and I have a couple questions that I can ask quickly. it blows people's minds because most people, let's face it, who wants to pick up the phone and call anymore? Nobody does that. I
Right.
mean, what's the percentage of time that you use your phone to actually call people? It's very low. People want to do texting. So allow them to do that in a secure way so you can actually get their information in a HIPAA-compliant manner directly from your website like we do with CareText and OperaDDS. Blows people away. You know? And again, just like we talked about with the virtual tour, being able to show people your amazing technology and that you care, a secure web chat should let people know that this is a secure channel. So it's not like when you're talking to Nike on their web chat, right? Well, you can feel free to share your medical information. It's being contained only with the dental practice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, and like as a sales guy, I have this tool for OperaDDS, and it really it's made a huge difference in being able to communicate with people that just have a quick question.
Yeah, and it's a way to greet people before you greet people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's another way to create a great first impression.
Yeah. And so, those are kind of the two big things that I had for people to greet people before they come in. Mm-hmm. There's the typical, answer to the phone with a smile. But one last piece of, I would say something that I've seen in dental practices throughout the industry is when people contact your practice as a new patient, please look at it from Dave's perspective, the patient perspective. And what that means is don't interrogate them like like your special counsel and get every piece of like your life story prior to getting people to come in.
Yeah.
Right. The goal of that initial experience, there should be two goals. One, blow their mind of how awesome you are. And two, get them in the door, right?
Yeah.
So, and when you set that appointment, when you do get them in the door, there's one, last thing I would do is have them fill out their forms at home, as we talked about on this podcast a little bit before.
Yep.
We alluded to it. Send them a text message or email so they can fill out their new patient paperwork in an easy-to-use manner whenever it's convenient for them. Saves you a ton of time. All of this saves us time in the dental practice too, right? If somebody has a tour of the practice virtually, it's going to lower the amount of questions and barriers that the patient has when they come in. If the patient says, I have a broken tooth securely from your website, you can actually have time set aside to get that tooth taken care of. If you're really cool and you use teledentistry, you can have them send a picture of the tooth, and then that tooth probably needs to have a crown. So you can actually have that new patient scheduled for the crown when they come in at their new patient visit. Talk about blowing their socks off, right? Talk about you listening to patients before you even see them. You could have somebody send a text message saying, I have a broken tooth and my friend Bob told me to come in. Cool. Send me a picture here. Oh, here's the picture. Oh, I would think that Dr. Laskin will recommend a crown. We'll get you scheduled in case you want to have that done at your first visit. Let's get it taken care of. The patient comes in. They've already seen the place. They already know that the CAD CAM system we use. They've watched the video. So when we talk about it, they say, oh, I saw your video. It was amazing. I saw your bio. Heard you went to Madison. That's cool. Madison's the coolest. And you already have rapport with people, and you've already described it. And then when they come in, you get it done that same day. Think about that patient's experience versus the one where when they call in, it's like, what type of insurance do you have? Is there a copay? Because I'm not familiar with that one. Come on. Let the patient fill out that paperwork BS from their couch while they're watching the latest Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Dave, for providing the patient experience, the correct one. Doesn't happen too often.
I can't believe I got it.
Man, yeah, you should. Today's the day to roll the dice, my friend.
Powerball, here I come.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I also want to remind you to rate and review us wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you have suggestions or comments, please visit theoperatory.com and drop us a line. Again, I'm Dr. Bryan Laskin, host of The Operatory. Thanks for listening. I look forward to speaking with you next week.